Hey, I'm Nick Von Brack, and this is the Record Podcast. We're back after a 3-year hiatus, and we're ready to launch this thing for good. Now, the past 3 years, I've been trying to figure out whether or not I wanted to post this thing at all, and listening to the sound of my voice was pretty much nails on a chalkboard, but I revisited the whole thing recently and got some good feedback from some friends and listeners, and I figured why not just do this thing for real. So here we are. And this isn't a proper episode, this is going to be a little in-between episode, and I think I'll be doing these in-between interviews to field any questions, talk about what I'm listening to, and give any updates on the podcast in general. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the podcast, I'm Nick Von Brack. I'll be interviewing some friends and guests on the show, people who are in bands and musicians on their own, and people who are in the music industry that I've met throughout the years being in Dr. Manhattan. And it's going to be just casual conversations, little catch-ups, and seeing what they're up to now, and really getting into how they got into music in the first place, bands that they were in high school and college, tour stories and fun things from the road, and also just personal stuff at home. You know, these are people who have significant others and dogs and all kinds of stories, so I just really want to get into whatever they want to talk about. For these in-between episodes, I'm going to take questions on Twitter at Record Podcast, and I'm also going to just talk about what I'm listening to and any little updates for the podcast. They're not going to be very long. We're going to talk about future guests and all that good stuff. So seeing as this is the first little mini episode, I can talk about some future guests that are coming up. We've got Casey Bates, who is a producer and helped us record Jam Dreams and also mix our self-titled album. Jared Carnes, the drummer of Hidden Hospitals and former drummer of the band Kiss Kiss. Nick Newsham, the singer of The Money Pit and former singer of Gatsby's American Dream, and many more. So you can check in with these little mini episodes to see who's coming up and throw any questions at me that you'll have for the guests or me or about the show or anything at all. So what I've been listening to lately, The Money Pit's new self-titled album is really strong.
You gotta wait for the punchline. I swear this one will kill you. It's being 30-something in America and running for a train that left the station without you.
As well as failed states from Propaganda. And the new Via Audio album, Natural Language, which really isn't new, but it's one that I've just gotten hip to lately.
In the still of the night, you can do what you want to do, but you do it alone. Well, I'm from the school of playing the fool, but the fool this time ain't me.
So yeah, if you have any questions for me, future guests, or about the show or anything at all, hit me up on Twitter at Record Podcast. And you can shoot any questions or comments over at the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/The Record Podcast. I want to thank AbsolutePunk.net for the shout out. So go over there and support them and their podcast Encore. And make sure to check out a new podcast coming out called Here We Go Again, which talks about movies and their remakes and how they stack up against one another. It's going to be a fun listen. So yeah, thanks for checking us out. Make sure to shoot over to iTunes and give us a review so people can find out about this podcast, and leave us any love on the Facebook and Twitter pages. Thanks a lot, and make sure to listen next Wednesday when I interview my first guest in 3 years, so that'll be interesting. All right, guys, take care.